All across the country, the parents of students enrolled in Job Corps, folks 18 to 24, have been shocked and stunned as their children have been released from the program, literally ordered to come pick their stuff up after Donald Trump whacked the Department of Labor's budget. Well, last night, a judge stayed that decision. Congresswoman Maxine Waters had this to say outside of one of those centers.
I care about you. I care about children who don't have any place to sleep at night, who are sleeping out of their cars, trying to go to school, trying to go to Job Corps. I care about mothers who don't know where the next food is going to come from. I care about fathers who are crying because they can't get employed. They're discriminated against. I get this. I understand this. And if I sound a little mad and angry, hell, I know how to be angry. I know how to be nice, but I know how to be angry too. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just got to show it. And sometimes you got to make believers out of people and let them know that you're not going to take it sitting down, that you're in this fight. We are in this fight, and we're not going to stop. Trump thinks he's a king. He thinks he can do anything he wants to. And of course, he's in the West Wing of the White House. He's the president of the United States. The president can do, I guess, whatever they want to, because the Constitution doesn't list all the things they can't do. And so he used executive orders. But it is the people who will determine what he really does, based on how you're going to deal with all of these executive orders that he's doing that would cause people to be poor, to be not healthy. Medicaid, all of this is involved. Head Start is involved. Everything is involved. If the people turn out, if the people show up, we can beat them. Do you understand that? Yeah. Are you willing to do that? Yeah. All right, let's kick it.
Folks, last night, a New York judge issued a temporary restraining order preventing the administration from shutting down the program. And of course, you see it right here. It says that it is further ordered that defendants, their agents, and all persons acting in concert or participation with defendants are enjoined from enforcing, implementing, maintaining, or giving effect to the elimination of the Job Corps program, including the stop work orders and termination and non-renewal notices delivered to Job Corps center operators starting May 29th, 2025. Joining us right now is Congresswoman Maxine Waters. Always glad to have you on the show, Congresswoman. It was very interesting, Congresswoman. Earlier in the week, I played a video of this black conservative out of Georgia who he was one of the folks who was skinning and grinning at the White House for Trump's Black History Month reception. And he posts, he goes by the name King Randall. And it was quite interesting because he posted this video complaining about the program cuts. I thought it was quite hilarious because if you listen to what he has to say, Congresswoman, it's amazing who he never mentioned while he was saying it. So listen to this.
Job Corps is closing here in the city of Albany, and that leaves us with a little over 500 students that were here on this campus, and 19% of those students are labeled as homeless. We have a little over 250 jobs that'll be leaving the city of Albany. And while this is not the city of Albany government's fault, this is a time for our local and state leadership to step up, because we'd be stupid to act powerless in this situation. Because while this school is still here, while this building is still here, while this campus is still here, what could this become? Could this become a Southwest Georgia regional hub for trade skills training? Could this become something major that the city brings on to start training workforce? Because if we're training workforce, then we can invite industry to come here. But if we don't have any workforce for industry, they'll never come. But if Dougherty County School System could train workforce in adults, why can't the city of Albany do the same thing? So my question to leadership is, are we going to allow this opportunity now to pass us by, or are we going to lead? Are our leaders going to lead? And if they don't want to lead, they need to step aside and let somebody else do it.
I just found that to be quite hilarious, Congresswoman. It's because he says, while it's not the city of Albany, Georgia's fault this is happening, but he never mentions whose fault it is. He never mentions Trump. He never mentions that he was the one who cut the program. Not anywhere in there did he argue for the program needed to be restored. The money needed to be restored. Made the argument as to why. And see, that's my problem with these black MAGA people who I call the help. It's amazing how they love to say black people who voted for Vice President Kamala Harris on the plantation, but they get real quiet when stuff happens to black people. And when it comes to the Job Corps program, half of the people in Job Corps are African American.
Absolutely. And either they are extraordinarily ignorant or they're being dishonest. They know, I believe they know where these cuts are coming from. For those who want to identify with Trump, they're willing to say or do whatever it takes in order to be embraced by him. But listen, let me tell you something. This strike against children is absolutely unconscionable. I heard someone mention, I think it was he, what percentage of the students that he was talking about are homeless. When I was at the Job Corps, one of the things that the supervisor told me there was that the majority of those students are homeless. And she does not want to try and put them in some kind of temporary program and be with older adults and all of that. Well, you know what I'm saying? What I'm telling them, let's fight. I mean, let's put up the fight. She said they want us out of here. I said, no, let's get our pillows and our blankets and let's move in and let's not move. The lease has been paid for. And it will be sitting there empty if Job Corps does not utilize it. And so when I talk about sitting in, laying in, I'm talking about doing the kind of work we did and you did when we were fighting against apartheid. We sat in, we got arrested, we did whatever it took. This is the only thing the opposition will understand. This is the only thing that Trump will understand. And so, as I told them, I'm in this fight. And I mentioned to them, I'm from St. Louis. I came from a family of 13 children. I understand what poverty is all about. I understand what it is not to know exactly what's going to happen to you, whether or not you're going to have a place to live, et cetera, et cetera. So we got to fight. We got to be in the street. We've got to be willing to take it on with everything that we have.
You talked about homeless. This is a tweet from a woman. She posted this. She said, Job Corps actually saved my life. I was at the end of the road and had nowhere else to turn to. I couldn't afford to finish college. I was homeless at 17, working meaningless part-time jobs. This is the reality for so many people at Job Corps. And of course, she posted these photos right here of her being in the Job Corps. And let's be perfectly clear, Job Corps had some problems. There were some significant problems that had to be addressed. But is it smart to completely shut something down, or do you try to fix it?
Well, you know the answer to that. Whenever you are organizing big operations, there are going to be problems. There are going to be mistakes. There's going to be all kind of obstacles that get in the way of being able to do big things. Job Corps is a big thing. Started in 1964 under Lyndon Baines Johnson. It has turned so many people around. It has helped so many young people. It has created new opportunities to get back in school, to have a career, to look forward to being able to earn a living and a living for your family and all of that. And so Trump is out to undermine our success, the success of people of color and Black people in particular, and brown people, et cetera. He has made it very clear. He has literally pinpointed and focused on those things that help us to get out of poverty, help us to be educated, help us to be successful, help us to get training in the new technology. He's focused on all of these things. It's clear that when he talks about MAGA, he talks about taking back this country, he's talking about putting his foot on our necks and holding us down and making sure that we don't continue to progress. That's what it's all about. You can't paint this any other way. It is not about, a different philosophy about, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. That's a bunch of crap. It's about whether or not you have opportunity, whether or not you're treated fairly, whether or not, what goes on in the selection of individuals, whether it's to enter jobs or to move up or to be on the board. It's about whether or not you're going to be fair and you're going to look at people in different ways instead of looking and saying, that person doesn't deserve this job. I don't want that person to have this job. I'm a racist. I'm against people of color being equal to me, as some whites would say. And so, Roland, we know this fight. You've been in this fight. And we know that we've got to confront it even in stronger ways than perhaps was confronted in the past. Thank God for the civil rights movement that taught us to hit the street, to taught us to be able to take the blows. Now, I want to tell you, Dr. Martin Luther King was a wonderful human being, practiced nonviolence. We're not a violent people. Trump is trying to goad us into violence. He is trying to get us into a point of anger and disgust that we hit the streets in a way that he can call in, the National Guard and be involved in, civil war. I know what he's trying to do. And so we've got to be smart. We've got to know how to fight. We've got to know how to articulate and identify what's wrong, who's the cause of it, but we can't be goaded into the kind of fight that he would turn the guns on us. I get it. I understand it.
When you look at polling, when you look at how people are answering questions, they're saying that Democrats are not meeting the moment. What you're saying is this has to escalate. What are you saying to Democratic leader Jeffries? What are you saying to Senator Chuck Schumer? What are you saying to the head of the DNC, Ken Martin? Because it seems as if that what they are doing is not resonating with people. When I hear people talk about fighters, I hear them mention your name. They mention AOC. They mention Jasmine Crockett. They mention Ayanna Pressley. And there is this feeling among lots of people. And I can tell you, I hear from lots of African Americans. They don't think that Democrats are doing enough to fight this fascist. They're saying that how could you call someone a fascist, but then show up to his speech on March 4th joint sessions of Congress? How could you show up to his inauguration? So if that person is really a fascist, then you respond accordingly. Do you think that Democratic leaders should be doing more? And if so, exactly what?
Well, let me just say this. I kind of alluded to the fact that government is always not understood. And people don't really understand that there's nothing in the Constitution that says the president can't do whatever he wants to do. And that's what we got to get into people's head, is that the president of the United States of America, with these executive orders, are trying to undermine the Constitution. He's trying to do away with laws that have been made. And so we've got to fight them in the ways that we can. One of the things that members of Congress are doing, we all are holding town hall meetings in our districts and talking to people and explaining to them what is happening and trying to get them into the struggle to hit the streets. We can't just do it sitting at home and going on the internet. We've got to go back to some of the tactics that were used in the civil rights movement. Hakeem Jeffries is hitting the streets every weekend. He leaves here, he's raising money, so we have the money to fight them with. They are rich. They are billionaires. They've got all of this money and all of that literature and all of the time that they buy on television. People are believing the lies that they hear because they are constant. They hear these lies over and over again. The only way to overcome that is to raise money also and put the literature out, buy the time, and defy them and tell people the truth. So we have roles to play. The roles to play is members of Congress, use your platforms, talk, explain, teach, raise money. And for those of us who are willing to hit the streets, let's join them in hitting the streets. Let's get people to the town hall meeting. It is not as if Democrats are not doing anything. Democrats know that we've got things to do. Much of it costs a lot of money, and that money comes only if we work hard for it, we convince certain people, we beg for it, we leverage for it. But the billionaires who run with Trump are not going to get that money to us. And so we've got to tell not only our people, but the so-called progressives and liberals and all of those out there who are philosophically in line with us that they've got to raise this money, because this is part of the struggle. Raising the money, putting the town halls together, on the street, doing the protests, getting your ministers to hold meetings so that they educate the people about the importance of the vote. We've got to look at the vote coming up. That's how we get rid of Trump. That's how we get rid of the right-wing conservatives. We got to vote. And we got to get people to do it. So all of this is a combination of work that not everybody sees. And when they say Democrats are not doing enough, they think, for example, we can arrest the president. We can't do it. They think, for example, that them having the majority does not count. Them having the majority means they stop our bills. But that's okay. We keep coming up with legislation because we're getting ready to have our legislation passed by the next president. We're getting ready to take over the primaries. We're doing all of these things. It's not any one thing. And it's not that you don't hear Hakeem Jeffries calling somebody SOB. I do that. I call them SOBs. You raise the money, and I'll do that, and I'll get in the street, and I will organize, I will protest, I will help to get people angry enough that they want to do something and resist what is going on now and get to the polls and vote so that we can take this country back from this low-down, dirty, no good, ornery man that now has the presidency.
All right, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, always great to have you. And listen, and please do me this favor. And this goes back even to my 2 shows on TV1. I have consistently said to the Congressional Black Caucus, to the last 5, 6 chairs, I've said to the communications people that we will make space for a Black Caucus member every single day on this show. But you know what the reality is? Only 4 or 5, maybe 6 consistently say yes. And so when I hear people, then what angers me, Congresswoman, is when I see CBC members run to MSNBC, but then don't decide to come do this show. I keep trying to tell them they're not gonna always call you. We will, I made it clear, we will put a member on every single day we're live. All they got to do is say yes. So please let them know that. Because again, I mean, if the people never see folks on a consistent basis, they assume you're not doing anything.
That's right. You're absolutely right. I will remind our caucus. I will keep doing it. A lot of people are not comfortable. They want to say the right thing. They want to look right. They want to be sure that they're not going to, say what was not meant to be said in public. But you got to free yourself. And you got to give yourself permission to be whomever you think you are. And you got to say it, whether or not it is right or wrong at the time that you do it, you got to let it come out. And that's what some people have not learn how to do. But I'm going to tell them, you feel comfortable with Roland Martin. He wants you on the show. It's an opportunity for you to talk truth to power. And so we want you to go. I'm going to do everything that I can to encourage that. Thank you so much, Roland.
And the last piece here, you can tell them this here. YouTube now has a weekly listing of the top 100 podcasts. And this podcast is in the top 50, and it is the only Black news podcast on the top 100. So if they think nobody's watching, let them know they're wrong.
I think they know it even if they haven't said it. Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Robert, I want to go to you. I mean, there are issues with the program. That report was done talking about a lot of these issues. But when you're dealing with troubled youth, you're going to have troubles that comes with it. But then you got this fool running around here. Somebody, matter of fact, there are different clips. Somebody posted this clip here. Here's this fool in the Oval Office. This is when him and Elon were getting along, talking about how we need to be shifting money to trade schools. Listen to what the fool says.
Every 3 days, we find another $100 million that was given. 2 days ago, we found $200 million more. The money's given to them like gravy. I'd like to see the money go to trade schools, where people learn how to fix motors and engines, where people learn how to build rocket ships, because, somebody has to build those rocket ships. Yeah. And I'd like to see trade schools set up, because you could take $5 billion plus hundreds of billions more, which is what's spent, and you could have the greatest trade school system anywhere in the world. And that's what.
So you're saying, but you just whacked the trade school.
I want people to understand something when President Trump says things. He's lying. I don't know how many times people have to see this and realize this. He's not telling the truth. And a couple of things on this point, that when we're talking about cutting this program for fiscal reasons, for budgetary reasons, this Republican quote unquote big beautiful bill, which is really a big brutal lie, the BBL instead of the BBB bill, what we're really talking about is we're financing billionaires. We are saying that in order to pay for the moon mission that Elon wants to send off, we have to cut things like Job Corps. My little brother went to Job Corps. I've seen Job Corps change the lives of dozens of individuals who had no direction, who come out with skills. Now, the fact that we are cutting into these programs and SNAP programs and Meals on Wheels and the social safety net, while at the same time saying we're going to build a new F-47 and we're going to double the size of the Navy fleet, and we want to build an F-55, and we want to build a B-21 that costs $1 billion a piece. I think the American people have to understand that this is the time to stand up. As Congresswoman Waters just said, Dr. King could stand up to LBJ, to Strom Thurmond, to Bull Connor. Jesse Jackson could stand up to Ronald Reagan, to George W. Bush, and to everybody else. But we're somehow cowering at the feet of Donald Trump and Mike Johnson. That's where we're simply saying that we do not have the fight in us. Just 5 years ago, we just had the anniversary of the beginning of the George Floyd summer. We were in the street en masse. We were changing laws. We were changing the global conversation around our issues around police shootings. Donald Trump is creating a George Floyd moment 3 or 4 times a day with the programs that he is cutting and what he's doing to destroy Black America. So it's time for us to realize that in this moment, they will do everything to distract us, everything to discourage us. But we have a history going back thousands of years to standing up to the powerful and deciding that this will be the moment that we will not take one step further back. And that has to happen now. We must, in the Senate, do everything that we can to kill this BBL Republican budget, which is only meant to destroy Black and brown communities.
Nola?
The first thing that runs through my mind, today a report came out that 247,000 people alone in 1 week applied for unemployment.
Yep.
So what's going to happen to those young kids that don't have anywhere to go? Of the 4 or 5 buckets that they listed as to why they're getting rid of Job Corps, one of the reasons was security concerns. So, as a security person, I am here to tell you, when you take opportunities away from a population, all that's going to do is increase the risk of having more security concerns. So the list of lies that he's, that he's rolling out, and I think that are coming to him pretty much as he goes. He makes policy on the fly. They just don't hold up. But this unemployment issue, Roland, this is going to be a very real thing. And this government is not set up to handle it. They do not know how to govern. And all of this boomerang is going to come back and hit them in the face very quickly, because there's no plan. The only plan is to destroy anything that has to do with Black people. His vengeance against us is so severe that it literally, they talk about the Trump derangement syndrome. He clearly has some sort of Black people derangement syndrome, because I literally think this man goes to sleep thinking about us, wakes up thinking about us, and how he can hurt us, because what he does know is how we vote. So this is a punishment for how we vote, especially for Black women. Because in that unemployment group, Black women right now, the most highly educated in the country, we are now among the most highly unemployed. So all of this is going to add up. And on the other side of the equal sign, it's going to be very ugly because they are not prepared for what's going to come.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.